Hello friend, welcome to video 5 inside of. So you're a new Sunday school teacher? Alright, and you already know that you're getting the very raw version of me just along this vlog series of what it's been like to be a new Sunday school teacher. This was week 2 for me, and let me just be honest with you, and I'm sure you're starting to feel some of this, and if you're not, trust me that it's coming. Like, the energy and the excitement has been great, but there were a couple of things this week that kind of stood out for me. I guess first I'll talk about me personally. It is work preparing for class, and it's not that I wasn't already preparing for my weekly video on YouTube, which, by the way, I hope you are a subscriber. Check out that Sunday School Girl on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. But preparing to sit with a group of people, in my case, and I think I shared with you that I do sit when we have our class discussions versus standing. It again makes it just more conversational, more comfortable, and that's the spirit of the class that we've created. But to prepare for class right now feels like literally 2 separate preparations for me, and that's probably because our approach has been to not make it so much going to the book and kind of a traditional, what does verse number 1 mean to you? So literally each week now I am having to do my prep for my channel, my video, my website, and then I've got a whole separate prep that I do for class. And so I've been trying to get myself on a schedule, and that's going to be my first tip of the week. You have got to put yourself on a schedule now. You cannot be Thursday, Friday, and God forbid Saturday afternoon trying to hurry up and get something ready for Sunday morning and think that you're going to be the best version of your teaching self that you can be. You cannot do that. You've got to start early. Make sure that you're incorporating those daily readings in your devotional time. Maybe it's how you start your day. Maybe it's what you do over your lunch break. But you've got to get a little bit of Sunday school in every day. As a matter of fact, I've got a personal goal because I actually feel behind right now because I'm right on schedule. And what do I mean? I need to get myself in a position where I'm a week ahead in study. What I've not done a really good job at is I should be able to, when we leave the next Sunday, leave class in a given week, be able to speak to next week's lesson. So, for example, this week I want someone, so one thing we did to open up our class was kind of like The View, like the TV show The View. So I had some topics from current events, pop culture that we discussed before going into the lesson, and they tied directly into principles from the lesson. So as opposed to my co-teacher and I doing all the work, we stuck a Post-it under a chair and we called it the hot seat. And so at the end of class, everyone had to feel under your chair, and if you have a Post-it or had the Post-it, you were in the hot seat, which means that next Sunday you will bring something to the table that will be discussed. That helps for a couple of reasons. It helps with engagement. It means that that person has to be paying attention and reading the lesson just like you do in the week, so they'll know what to look for. But it also means that they have to be on time because they're going to help open up the lesson with us on next week. So there are ways that you can incorporate things like that to encourage the behaviors that you want in your class. So my being able to be a week ahead, even in reading, I think will strengthen my ability to speak to that. So that's kind of a personal goal for me. And again, just this whole scheduling thing and getting it all down, that's going to be critical for you. So I would encourage you to think about previewing the lesson on Sunday night, like know what your subject is, know what scriptures you're going to be reading, and no later than Monday, read the lesson in its entirety so that it is resonating with you all week long, that as you study and you're reading those daily readings, you're picking up on the principles and the pieces that you should know, because your class time can be expanded, your discussion can be expanded when you understand how those daily reading pieces fit into what's going on, versus just like this week's lesson has 10 printed verses in it, but the class can be more than just these 10 printed verses that are there. When you've done your work, that's what helps to expand your dialogue. So again, that was about scheduling and my personal goal to get ahead in my reading so that I can be a better leader directing us where we're going. The second thing I've got to figure out is the technology in my room. The Sunday school department invested in this wonderful 60-inch smart TV, and it's beautiful up on that wall. I just haven't figured out how it all works together. So when I turned it on, I saw that it had me to download an app, which I did onto my phone, and I was able to flip YouTube up there. But when my playlist ran out, it like defaulted to regular YouTube and started finding its own selection of content, which was almost an embarrassing moment. Like, I don't know how YouTube selects what's next. It's supposed to be based on your preferences and things that you've watched. And this Sunday, it was weird. It was just a weird moment for me. So I just turned the TV off completely. Right now, I've only used the TV last week and this week. I have a playlist that I've created on YouTube, and you will need to decide what kind of environment or atmosphere that you want to set for your class. In my room, when I arrive and I get there, this Sunday I got there about 8:30, and that's going to be my intent so that I have a chance to have everything set up and put out. But at 8:30, I start playing a worship playlist that I've created on YouTube. So, of course, the issue with smart technology told me to create my playlist to be a little bit longer. So I'm actually going to work this week to make sure that it's an hour's worth of content so that YouTube doesn't flip over to any weirdness on me. And I can always turn it off when I'm ready. But I also know that the TV is not really just there for worship music before class. So I've got to think about how I want to engage technology, because that's important. And the first 2 weeks have really been a lot of dialogue. So I don't want to lose the spirit of the dialogue, but I also am cognizant that I have to engage all sorts of learning styles. So I've got to be better about engaging the technology in our room. If I can go back to scheduling for just a minute, part of the routine that I'm trying to get on is communicating with our class regularly. So as a best practice, I have now created what's called the Fire Starter. Our class is called the Fireside, and every Monday our class receives a fire starter. And here's a picture of what it looks like. I post this to our our Facebook page, and I also have a mass email distribution. So I send it out to everyone by email. So those who are not on social media can still see it by email or whatever's most convenient. And it really is designed to get people's minds into the lesson, because again, we're not going to go verse by verse. In fact, we established ground rules in our class on the first week. And one of those ground rules is when you come in here, the assumption is that you've already read the printed Bible lesson. Now, we're going to reference it quite a bit, but if you come in and you haven't read it, you're going to feel a little bit behind. So the Thought Starter gives questions. These are the kinds of conversations we're going to have. It doesn't mean that we're going to go down every list by bullet, but these are the kinds of topics that we're going to be talking about. So that's been helpful because, again, it gets students' minds going before they get to class. So trying right now to post something every day, especially while we're building engagement, because we are a brand new class and we've got to start to put in those behaviors. I was so appreciative last week. My co-teacher posted a really great article about how to study using a certain study method, because, again, you cannot assume that every student is accustomed to really digging into the word each week. So the sharing of this particular study method was very helpful. I'll try to pull it down too and list it as a PDF, because I thought it was really, really great. So that's one learning for me. The other thing this week, and again, I think you know that I sit down each week, and by the way, this is the notebook that I've decided belongs to me for Sunday school. I use kind of a different notebook for every activity that I'm involved in. So when I see this one, when I pull it out, I know that it is Sunday school related. And looking just kind of, again, every week at what went well, what didn't go well, and what you want to change in the next week. So in my last video, I told you that we wanted to have more questions in this past Sunday's lesson, and we wanted to use, or to be mindful that we were using open-ended questions and not, you ask a question and the answer is yes or no. We are trying to spur dialogue, and so I believe that we did a better job of that in this week's class. But I will say this. Our group this week was almost 50 or 60% different than week one. And I don't know that I thought about that going in. I wasn't prepared one way or the other, but I was pretty surprised to have almost a whole new group of people. So on some level, we kind of had to back up just a bit and do ground setting again so that everybody is on the same page as it relates to the spirit of the class. It's one of those things where, we always say if everybody that is listed on the roll of the church or the roll of your class would show up every week, oh my goodness, the kind of class and the kind of church we could have. But the truth is, everybody is not going to come every week, and you've got to know that that doesn't make you a bad teacher. It's nothing that you've necessarily done wrong. And to that end, even thinking about how you want to engage with people who are missing. And so, in fact, I got a note this week that said, have you reached out to people that weren't in class on Sunday? And I was thinking about that, but part of me is a little hesitant to do that because missing one class, I don't want to become this kind of stalker teacher. So I think that my best practice is going to become, if I've missed you 2 or 3 consecutive Sundays and I didn't know that. So like there are people who have said, hey, spring break is coming up, I'm not going to be there, or I've got a birthday trip planned, I'm not going to be there. I get that. But I don't want to be like that stalkerish teacher, because I also think about, as a student, like this is a guiding principle. What would you have enjoyed and what would have just like really gotten on your nerves? And I have to tell you that I'm not sure that I want somebody following up with me every week as an adult. Like I manage my time, and of course I want accountability, but I don't need a stalker. So I think 2 or 3 weeks kind of feels reasonable to me. So I'm going to wait. And those people next week that may not have been there, then I can follow up. So think about what you want your best practice to be. Again, as you're thinking about scheduling, I want you to keep in mind that our jobs as teachers, we're not even just preparing the lesson. So the things that I talked about, it is how you're going to engage the learning styles. You've got to think early about your presentation format. You've got to think about how you're going to continue to market your class, to talk about it. In fact, this week, I should have grabbed one for you to see it. In fact, here's the picture of it. This is our invitation now, and it's modeled directly off of our first week's marketing materials, but we've now created this postcard as a witnessing and evangelizing tool that our class is going to use. You are not the only person that should be dedicated to the exposure and the growth of your class. So we have put these in the hands of every one of our students and said, invite someone to class. Write your name on the back of this postcard so that when they show up, we know that they were your guest. We've got something for them, and we're going to do something for those who are inviting people to class. So reward the behaviors that you want to encourage in your class, and remember that you are not the only one committed to its growth. What else did I want to tell you? So there's a public relations arm that you're managing your study, but keep in mind the primary reason that we exist as teachers is to make disciples. Everything that you do is pointing back to souls and making people better by the study of God's word. This is not just something we do every Sunday morning, but people's lives are being changed by the time they spend with us together in God's word. I want to encourage you. I've actually gotten an email and had a conversation about the same topic in 2 different churches in 2 different states in the last week. And I want to encourage you not to be afraid to try new things. And that's whether you are a new teacher in a new class like I am, or even if you are a new teacher to an existing class. And in both cases, the concern was this: I'm new in what I'm doing, or we're trying something new, and there are people who have been there and they don't like my style, or they don't like that I use a certain type of teaching method, whether it's technology or dry erase boards. You'd be surprised at how people kind of get a little beside themselves when you move their cheese because it's change. And sometimes people don't like change. And my advice has really been this, and this is more of a conversation that you may need to take to your superintendent or your pastor. If you are in a situation where you have people, I'm going to talk specifically about an existing class. If you have an existing class and now you have a contingent that just doesn't come anymore and they don't like something that's changed, and yet there is growth that's happening from some of the things that you're doing, the request may actually be to split into 2 classes, because you don't want to lose necessarily the old while trying something new, because you're gaining traction, you're gaining people. So there may be an opportunity. In fact, God's math is not like our math. He will subtract to add, and he will divide to multiply. Thank you, Pastor Kenneth Davis in Denton, Texas, for that. I borrow it often, but God's math is not ours. So sometimes it is a good strategy in Sunday school to divide to multiply. So if you have a group that sort of likes the traditional methods, traditional teaching, there may be a space, if your church can accommodate, having a class for those who want to keep things the way that they were. And on the other hand, maybe your class and the way that you deliver may offer something different that may bring in a whole new group of people to Sunday school. I will say again, this was week 2, and we had 15 students this week. Remember, not even the same group as last week. And of this group, I still looked out, and 13 of those people in the class were not coming to Sunday school 3 weeks ago. So that is what I am most proud of, is that God is giving us new souls. This is not a lift and shift. It's not a popularity contest. It is literally offering a different class with a different style that is attracting a new student. And that's the goal as you are growing Sunday school. It is not to divide your other classes, meaning to pull from them, but if you divide, you're dividing for the purpose of growth. So keep that in mind and be encouraged by that. For this video, I want to invite you, if you have a question, that's one question, that you can send it to me by email at thatsundayschoolgirl@gmail.com. And those that come in before I record the final video, I will try to include them in that vlog. Otherwise, I will reply to your one question, and over the next couple of months, I'll grab those questions here and there and make some sort of reply video, because I'm sure that if you want to know it, other people want to know it too, and I'll share inside of this community that you will always have access to. So there'll be new things that will pop up from time to time, and I pray that it will be a blessing. Don't forget, if you're looking for more expanded teaching on Sunday school growth, how to be a great teacher, my 30 Ways in 30 Days curriculum is available. I put the link down below for you. And I don't know what else I was going to say next, so it must not have been that important. I am so excited about you, the work that you're doing, the call of God on your life, and I know that you are a difference maker to your students. I am praying for you as you serve. What an amazing opportunity that God has given us to serve his people, and bless you for the time that you've invested in making sure that you are offering your best to God's kingdom. I'll see you next time for our last and final vlog inside of So You're a Sunday School Teacher?